This has been another episode of SMS News Channel. I'm in my bathroom recording, so if you see anything in the background, I'm sorry. But I was thinking about something in particular, and I just said, I haven't talked about work clicks in a while, have I? It's been like probably 3 years since I've talked about it. Mainly because I don't like to get in everybody's business. I don't want to be that kind of person. It's just, I'm negative and stuff. But I think we should talk about it just a little bit, shall we? So you ever know when you notice when you get a job and you work with people and you're trying to get to know everybody, you're like, okay, I already went through all the steps and that's great. I gotta do orientation and all this other stuff. That's cool. Then you get to the part where it's orientation. You don't know anybody, you love the job, and you're just like, wow, this is really nice, it's great. That's what I call the honeymoon phase. You think you know everything so far about your job per se, because you are noticing that, you like what you see and all this other stuff. Yeah. And nobody's really saying anything. So they don't really know you well enough to say anything. Then here comes like maybe 1 or 2, 3 weeks into the situation. Oh, I like everybody, and you're getting to know everybody. But then you got the work clicks. People that have been there for years, they're stuck in their ways. They're used to things working a certain way, and then that's it, right? And then you have people that just want to befriend you so quick because they want to know some stuff, you know what I'm saying? Stuff that they get to do just so they can say whatever they want to say. And do you ever notice those people that try to talk to you so you can trust them automatically changes everybody's position on how they like you, right? Why is that? I can't tell you how many times I have had situations on my job where it was just like I just couldn't come to work. I would literally hate coming to work because I was weak-minded. I'm not gonna lie. Younger me, I just didn't. I was going through this, going through that, all this other stuff. Unnecessary stress. You see what I'm saying? I don't care if my hair was down. I don't care if I wore makeup. Any other time, somebody was always hating on me for something. Most times it was because people wanted to analyze me and say, oh, this person, she doesn't do her job and all this other stuff. 9 times out of 10, what they say about you is really what they do on the other. And most times it's just like that stupid reverse psychology. They want to project how they feel about themselves, about you, and it's just not necessary. Okay, so now we're getting to the point where you have that one job where they feel like they have the right to dig. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to know about you because they don't know you yet, so they want to gossip and do all this other stuff. And I hate to say it, but if you work in areas that are predominantly more diverse, where there's not just a ratio demographic of just black and white, and you have everybody, it tends to be a little crazy, and I'll tell you why. Because especially with women, and I guess for me, I'm just to the point where I'm mentally exhausted working with my gender. And this is no gender discrimination, but it's the most annoying thing sometimes. Some women you work well with, some women you won't work well with. Some men you will work well with, some men you won't work well with. My issue is, if you have a problem like any other self-esteem issue, keep that with you. Whatever you feel about yourself should not affect that individual when they're on the job. You see what I'm saying? And then rumors, constant rumors, right? always something. And I'm just like, what's the purpose? You want to know why this person's doing this, why this person is doing that, just to keep you entertained. It's not necessary. I don't really care. But for me, it's annoying. Like, some jobs, like I remember one specific job, I literally had to stop working with this individual because every day it was an issue. And I'm just like, bro, I really don't need people that are in my field trying to tell me how it's going to go or not. Oh, this is the best job I'm going to have. Let me explain something. The jobs that we have, and this is no shame on anybody who feels like, you know, that's what's going on in life. People who think outside the box, usually 9 times out of 10, they're going somewhere in life because they're not sticking with the same status quo. You know what I'm saying? I was that type of person on some of my jobs where I either did some stuff that I either wasn't supposed to do, or I would do some stuff that I was doing too well. People were getting irritated with. The thing about it is that when you're working with people that are in cliques, they always feel like they have the right to try to tell you how to do your job, right? If you don't know something, there's a way about talking to people. Period. There's a way to talk to people. There's a way to talk to people. And I am that person where I don't feel like I have to be right. I really don't. But when you bring your nonsense and you're already in a mood, what I do in my area, in my bubble, or what so-and-so is doing in their area, in their bubble, is their business. Now, if there's a certain procedure that is not being done right, that can cause somebody harm, and it's a state situation where something could be happening, cool. But watch those people that always say, well, I don't want you to get fired because they do all this other stuff. That's not your concern. And I'm sorry to say it. I hate to say it because I don't want to sound like a bigot. But colored people, y'all always find your reasons. And I'm not saying just you, because there's more people than just us. It's more things than just black and white, trust me. But when you work in an environment that is predominantly one side of the fence than the other side of the fence, it is so irritating to try to go to work and act like everything's fine, and you're trying to act like everything's cool, and it's not. Oh, I don't want you to get fired for such and such. I don't want you to do this because of this and that. That's not your call. If somebody doesn't like what I'm doing, that is for the managers to talk to me. That is for my other manager to talk to me. People who are on the same level as you do not have the right to correct you. Now we're about to talk about a problem number 2. 3, now they feel like they have the right to confront you. Why does it have anything to do with you, what I'm doing? If I'm stepping out, you don't know if it's because I have anxiety. You don't know if I'm dealing with something. Why do you feel like you have the right to talk to me about me? This doesn't concern you. It don't. You want to be able to do what you have to do. That's great. I want my break. I want to be able to cut the nonsense. You know what I'm saying? In some jobs, it's like, listen, ain't nothing wrong with working a nice job. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you don't know everybody and you're not there to make friends, you're there to make a paycheck. That's the point in the ballpark. But most times people always want to act like that they're above reproach, like they can't do no wrong. They always want to be in the manager's side pocket. They always want to be in the know. I don't want to talk to y'all. I'm saying, hey, and how's it going? And then we're just talking about the job because that's the only thing we need to be talking about. People that I trust, I'm not going to talk to you at my job. I'm not. For what reason? You don't need to know that side of me. This is just about work. That's it. Period. But then here comes the other side. Like, I'll never forget there was one time, there was one girl, she was like, oh, well, all this other, because we have to do documentation. So they were like, well, documentation can help, can wait later. But there's all these lights. You just got back off the floor doing God knows what you were doing. Ain't no telling what. It don't make any sense that every time you come back from the floor, you smell like straight up weed, but you're supposed to be one of the leaders, that mentor. You can call off from work for 3 days and then you turn around, come back, you went on a trip all of a sudden, right? And I'm looking at the situation like I'm not naming no names, but it's like you do not have the right to be a narcissist around me. We're not gonna mesh. I had another girl, she was transgender boy, and she had a tendency, she was transitioning from a boy to a girl. She had a tendency of saying, well, if something's not right, I'm just gonna tell. We are living in a world where we come to work to work. We grown. We don't need to be bullying people. This is not high school. This is not junior high. This is not none of those things. You don't know me well enough to just come at me like I owe you something. I had one person saying something. I said, I made a comment, you got frustrated, and all of a sudden, you only been in I haven't seen you do any work or anything. That's not for you to describe. That's not just because you don't see me doing anything at the moment doesn't mean that I wasn't working. I don't go by your tune. If I'm working on something else. If I'm filling out documentation, I'm working on something else. Period. If something's not getting done, that ain't my fault that it's not getting done. You got 4 or 5 other people that you can talk to. Period. And it's getting to the point where people feel like they have the right to just destroy your whole entire day just because they in a funk. No, that's the reason why I made that statement and made that video last weekend. And I said, when you're going through the motions, going through the situations on your job, this is encouragement for anybody. You owe nobody any explanation except for your bosses and your managers. Don't let anybody bully you. Because people have this tendency where they feel like on jobs that they have the right to sit there and antagonize you just because they're not doing what you want, only for them to sit there and be on their butt and do nothing. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Everybody has lazy moments. Why would I lie about that? But I'm not gonna sit here and boss you around like that. Who are you talking to like that? Who? This ain't Django. And it's like to the point where, oh, like, I'll tell you the stupid thing. Like, I'll never forget one time I was working. One girl said, this was when I was still living in Indy. She was like, well, you were gone for like 20 or an hour and 20 minutes. Mind you, I was in conversation with somebody. It was a medical emergency I was having, period. Mad about this other stuff. Went to the next job that I had. I get a phone call from my boss. She's like, oh, you're fired after I send you medical documentation that I was in the hospital for a medical situation that I could not help. How can you do those things? But see, when you feel like you got privileges, and I'm saying this is not to hate on anybody or any type of gender or race or nothing, but what I'm saying is when you in an area where it's a predominantly one-sided fence and it's very rural, you get what you get. whether you in the country or the city. And I don't miss the city that much because city folk still handle you rough like you ain't nothing. The world is going to handle you rough, period. But I'm just saying it's to the point where I hate to say it because I'm getting older, but it's hard to work with Gen Z. It really is. It's hard to work with the younger generation that are under after 1999. Like it's just like you almost feel like just having an outer body experience and just floating. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes the negativity at work can be so stressful, right? So, like, I am that person that if something doesn't go right with me, I try my best to see the outcome. But if I have my petty moments, I have my petty moments. Every person does. But it's to the point where now that we grown, folks almost dread going to work because they got to deal with the clique. I'll never forget when I was working at one place that was another company as an aide, and almost would hate it. It was so bad in Indy where I would literally be a traveling aide because I got tired of going to the same places, feeling like I gotta owe people explanations on what I'm doing, why I'm in an area. Sometimes it's so much overloading at one time. It's too much. And I feel like when you're grown, you don't need people to talk to you like you're 3. And I'm looking at the situation like, you might think I'm 2, but you better add an 8 to that 2 because I'm way grown. I might not be older than you, but I'm not going to sit there and tolerate this foolishness from you. It ain't an emergency. I'm not going to. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when you have people that just keep starting with you for no reason just because they feel like they have the right to start with you. Today, I got a chance to work by myself. I was happy. I mean, I was pleased. I was cool with it. I wasn't going to get upset about it. You want to know why? Because we had a collective team working with us. It is so irritating if you work 2 to 10, or if you work 6 to 2, or if you work 10 to 6, or 11 to 7, or whatever the shift may be, or even if it's this 12-hour shifts. You get tired of those people who feel like they work the 12-hour shifts, that they run and stuff. If you just got here, do your part. Don't worry about what we're doing. Period. We already set in stone what we're doing. Stop asking me 12 or 6 times if I changed so-and-so. Stop asking 12 or 6 times if I said anything. I get that you guys have side conversations about us because you always do. But what we're not going to do is try to play like your shift is the better shift just because you do this and we haven't done this. No, most times what usually happens is, which is why I dread sometimes second shift, is by the time they do the 6 to 6, the people that are in the morning time are the coolest, it's smooth, you got everything done. By the time after dinner, it's almost dreadful because people treat you like you just a nobody, I don't owe y'all no explanation. We just talking just to be talking. I don't feel like I have to run down the meal on what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what needs to be done. You have an issue with so-and-so, I'm not going to talk to you about a person that I work with about somebody else's business. That ain't it. And it's irritating because you got people that are grown to act like teenagers on the job. For what reason? They ain't paying us to have these teenagers conversations. We had an agreement. We're talking about what we're talking about. That's it. You don't need to come behind me and ask me, did you make sure this person is done? Did you make sure that person is done? The micromanaging is annoying. You know what I'm saying? If you don't trust somebody to work with them, don't. But you cannot blame anybody for why that person is flooded if you didn't do the work. Because I've worked night shift and you have to do it every 2 hours. And if you haven't checked every 2 hours, every 4 hours will be the nice thing to do. Period. I don't need an evaluation on my peers because we're coworkers. We don't owe each other any explanation. You can say whatever you want to say. I'm not concerned. I hate to say it like that, but we ain't here. That those memes of us just trying to do the job so we can go home, that's us. We get tired of hearing, like I'll never forget I'll never forget working at a job, and this woman was always telling all her business all the time. Now, mind you, when I was younger, I was foolish. So if I was going through something, I was going to talk about it. Didn't realize that it was going to make a problem for me in the end. But I was young, stupid, wasn't really paying attention. But when you up in age and you know better and you got children, even if you don't have children, why are you telling people that are 20 years your senior your issues? They don't know you. 9 times out of 10, we ain't even got to that point in life. We barely know what menopause is, let alone trying to get to that. We just trying to get through the next period cramp, let alone trying to, and so we would just be sitting here talking and she going all down wrong about her husband and what's going on with her marriage and then this person and that. And it's to the point where I would just get up and be like, God. Then I had one person that was in a marriage but had a girlfriend on the side. And I was like, I ain't mad at you because if that's what you want to do, that's your business. But why that got to be my business? So at some point, you just walk away. The stuff that I've heard, I think the very craziest story as an aide that I have observed, when I tell you that I have observed, like one time, and I'm not mentioning no names, I think I was like 19 at the time, and there was this guy. I worked with his wife in the morning time, but once I switched because at the time I couldn't, this was back when I didn't really know my work schedule, what my weaknesses and my strengths were, but everybody else kind of knew. So by the time I switched from day shift to evening shift, I didn't realize that I was going to be working with her husband at night. So at night, I was noticing that this particular guy was always in this one aide's face. I didn't think nothing of it at first because I didn't know what to do. This was like my first nursing situation job, so it wasn't like I knew what was going on like that. I was just very naive. So here we go. We just, as aides, taking care of stuff. The nurse will ask us some questions and we got to fill out this, do some vital signs. Boom, there you go. I kid you not. It was like maybe 3 or 4 months after the fact. The wife found out that that her husband was having an affair with the other aide for almost 3 months going on. She did not know about it. She confronted him about it, made him walk home. Now that's his business, but at some point, you gotta realize every action has a consequence. Every consequence has a sad action after the end. Can't really do nothing about it. But when it comes down to work drama, you just have to be that person. And the reason why I guess it still bothers me to this day, because I just look at it like, when are we going to be able to come to the grips where we can come to work, say, hey, how's it going? Keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Be calm about it. Just be cool. Socialize with folk and just keep our distance. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to constantly bump into each other. You know what I mean? And I was just that person that just felt like I like having fun. I like to be able to enjoy my life, but I'm glad that God puts that alert. You know what I'm saying? Where you know that something isn't good and you just gotta trust your gut. Like, I don't want to fool with this person no more. You know, I can tell you how many times where I've had situations where I was talking to somebody and I was stupid enough to sit there and talk to them because I was interested in them. Didn't realize the Lord was like, hey, that person really has bad intentions for you. You know what I'm saying? Work areas and school are like the number two places you really don't want to screw up when it comes down to relationship wise. You might as well just try to find somebody that's not at work or in school. Because if y'all break up, you know what I'm saying? You got an awkward situation when you're trying to come to class and dealing with something. That's why it's better just to do stuff and keep it. You know, everybody's got a pass, but it's just to the point where it's like, do you really want a lesson learned at every situation? Like, is every situation going to have to be a lesson learned because you didn't get the first message? You know what I'm saying? And then a good thing, try to find outlets. When you're working, sometimes people forget, you know, you're still a human. So don't pick up as many shifts. If you know you need money, switch it up. Do 1 month where you can pick up shifts. Then do another month